that they're working on. I'm your host, Marissa Lowen. I do have one of my favorite mugs by a maker in Calgary. If you need this mug, I think they ship all over. I'm excited. I always have more than a big. It's not a medium coffee. It's never a medium coffee with me. But I'm excited to have Annie Anderson here. Annie, we've known each other for 7 probably years, and on the interwebs. It seems like 3 weeks always seems like 3 years though. So who knows how long we've actually known each other. But we definitely run in the same circles, and we have a lot of similar viewpoints on things in the world. But Annie, why don't you introduce yourself before we dive into all the juicy stuff we're going to talk about today?
Yeah, introduce myself. That's always a challenge for me as an introvert,
Yeah.
So I'll just give you a brief background. I've got 4 kids, ranging in age from 27 is my oldest, down to 17. Well, he'll be 17 next week. And I started this business thing because my number 2 child, who's 23, is autistic.
Yep.
And trying to integrate him into, society is not going well when he was young. And so I thought, what am I going to do? How am I going to do this? Right. So I decided, hey, you know what? I've got business skills. I helped my parents were entrepreneurs, and I thought, I've always done some work on the side, so why not just do it? So I started a business, when my 23-year-old was about 2.5. And then things just happened from there. And I, did graphics. I'm a web developer. And then all these other things started happening. And I thought, there's got to be more than this for me. And so I became a certified life coach.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got into these spiritual circles, and I became an ordained minister, and, all kinds of things. And then all of this stuff just kind of came to a head, I guess you could say. And I ended up with doing a lot of strategy for people and kind of back end operations, like operations management kind of thing. And it just stuck. So that's what I do now.
All the things.
All the things.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the things.
Yeah. So, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about the world of tech and business and all of that. But I think it's interesting that you're okay, I'm going to do a life coach, and I'm going to do the ordained minister thing. And I mean, as someone who also went to life coach, I took life coach school along the way from Erickson, and I also marry people. And, it's an interesting path, but why working in the world of online entrepreneurism business, what is that why is that important to you?
It's important to me for a couple of reasons. One is that it enabled me to stay home with my kids when they were growing up. I didn't have to, my ex-husband is not, well, he's a narcissist. and he was, it was an abusive relationship.
Okay.
And so I had to do something to support me and the kids, and I needed to be there for my son.
Okay.
Because he was nonverbal when he was little. And so I thought, you know what, I have to do something. I have to be able to be home. For me, there was no other choice, really. I just did what I had to do.
Right.
And, that's how I ended up with what I've got.
Yeah. I find it interesting because I know definitely I went into the world of, I was always in the world of online. My first jobs, I was doing even admin work, and I was building websites for companies before companies really even had websites.
Right.
And, as I moved through my communications career, I realized though that I didn't always fit in person. It was really hard for me to be in the world, in the structures that are provided for me. And even I think about this, right now, what you can't see is I have a rotating chair underneath my right foot, and I am wiggling back and forth, right? It's really hard to do that in a conventional cubicle farm corporate environment and be taken seriously. People tend to focus on the wiggling or the doodling or the, staring off into the distance and think you're not paying attention or you're distracted. But, like actually I got really great ideas. And so that can shadow it. But I can stand here and look, like completely normal, unless you notice that like my eyes are everywhere else. And like, like if you don't notice all those things, the world of online has definitely given me that capacity. And I think when you talk about like your son, you just recently like the computer upgrade, right? Like, what was that to him?
Yeah. Like, so he was pretty nonverbal when he was little. And he didn't really start talking until he was like 7 or 8 years old. And then, I homeschooled all the kids when they were little. And then my oldest daughter, when she was in 8th grade, she's like, you know what, I want to go back to public school. And so I went ahead and let her. And then all the other kids were like, but if she's going, then we want to go too, So yeah. I had to kind of rearrange my whole entire life to put them back into school.
Right.
But by then he was, I don't know that coming out of his shell is the right word for it, but he was beginning to do normal things, right?
Right.
He wanted to be a part of the world. Right.
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean?
I do.
And I said it that way because what is normal? So, really, it's all just man-made constructs.
Yes.
Because somebody decided that, hey, this is a pigeonhole we're going to make everybody try to fit into.
Yes.
And, and he just didn't. He finally learned to read when he was about 11.
Yeah.
And from age 11, when he went into, that was just before we put him in public school. And by the time he was halfway through that first year of public school, when he was in 4th grade, he went from a basic, like 1st, 2nd grade level reading, all the way to college level. He's a brilliant kid, but I had to figure out how to structure my life in order to help him.
Right.
I wasn't, people told me, 25 years ago, what they did often, even and years ago, 50 years ago, 75 years ago, what they typically did with neurodivergent people was put them in institutions. And he, they kept telling me to put him in an institution. I was like, no, it's not happening. That's not happening. So I had to figure out how to make a world that he could be in and be there for him. And that's, really, everything that I do kind of comes back to that thing. How do I make his life easier? How do I help him? How do I help him become, a quote unquote productive member of society? How do I help him live in a world that's not made for him?
Yeah. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good.
I'm frozen. I can still hear you.
I'm frozen, but I'm still here. As we're talking about technology and making things easier. Not always is the case. Yeah, I think it's interesting too, because I think what we're finding is that you're right. They were told to put people into institutions. I spent a lot of my time in a library because teachers didn't know what to do with me in class. And that impacted my social skills. Like I'm probably I'm 42. I'm going to be eternally socially awkward until the day I die now. I was just never around a lot of people. And it was interesting because when I think about that, like, I just wish that they had things that were set up that could allow me to learn as fast or as slow as I have a math learning skill, but I can read. I was reading at college level in grade 1 to 2. And that was, I was reading major novels and that was my skill set. It doesn't mean that it was better or, than anyone else's. It was just, that was my combination of skills. And I think of like, what, even now as adults, like we're still learning and being able to adapt your course or your programs or even your communication style and your coaching to how your clients need it is something that we are moving into more. Thankfully, we're starting to get that accessibility component into it.
Yeah. Yeah. And not just in, the technology areas, but actually in the way we collaborate with people, how we interact with them, what we do, how we communicate, all those things are, evolving at this point. And I know that you have been really vocal about collaboration. Excuse me, collaboration, and it being the way of the future. And it really is. Like, it's time for everybody to learn to work together in better ways that include people that have typically been excluded. So, that's been a big one for me throughout all of my kids' lives, is how can I help create a world where they are taken care of? How can I, create a world where my son has ample opportunity to do the things that he loves to do and the kind of work that he wants to do without feeling like he's not qualified, or he's not, smart enough, or, whatever. And that's kind of really been a big part of why I do what I do, is really just to change how things happen and the way that everything is set up for, you know, right-handed people. Like, the world is made for right-handed people because most people are right-handed, and my son is left-handed. Not only is he autistic, he's left-handed. So he's got all these things that, are challenging for him because things are not set up for him. And that's part of why I do what I do, is I just want to create a more inclusive world, not just for neurodivergent people, but for all people. We could touch on the whole uh, white supremacy and race and all of that kind of thing too, because it's the same, not the same, but it's a similar thing of how do we include marginalized people. And we seem to have lost Marissa. She's here, but not here, I guess. So, Marissa is here, but we can't see her or hear her, I guess. Hmm. So, okay, so Marissa says just talk about your next offer. Okay, so as I've been creating things over the past several years, as I mentioned earlier, I do web development, WordPress. I've been working with WordPress for a long time, so I do that, and I do productivity strategy coaching for new businesses and businesses who are trying to figure out how to get all of their tech working together so that they can do what they want to do and get things automated, get their foundations set up so that they can really do the work that they're here to do, instead of playing with all the technology stuff and trying to figure out what they should be doing. So I step in, I help them figure out, we put everything out on the table. Okay, this is what's working, this isn't working, this is where we want to go, this is what our ultimate goal is. We figure out all that stuff. What do they really want? What do they want to do? How do they want to work? All those little details. What is it that makes them special? What is it that makes their work the kind of work that you want to do, or the kind of person that you want to work with? So we take all that stuff, we lay it out all on the table, and we work together to create a roadmap and get all of your backend systems all put together, everything from your website to your email marketing systems to your funnels, all those back end things that are tech related that a lot of people just don't know how to do or can't do or don't want to do. That's what I do. So my current offer is a part strategy coaching, part done for you service, where I help you get through all that stuff. We work through all those things, and I help you set everything up from beginning to end. Automations, funnels, offers, products, websites, whatever it is that you need, marketing materials. We just get everything set up, and along the way, I help you create strategies and systems that work for you, whether, like what time of day works best for you. When do you work best? What kinds of work do you really want to do? We just really get into all the nitty-gritty of everything and figure out how to get you from here to there in the easiest manner possible. So that's available right now. It's called the Foundations Incubator. It's a 6-month program. It's tailored to you and your business. So it's not like a cookie cutter program. I don't have like this whole, thing to walk you through and all these components you have to do. It's a matter of, like I said, laying everything out on the table, figuring out what you need, and then building that around you and your work. So it's really hands-on. It's really in there. We're in there together, and I'm with you every step of the way. So if you're interested in that, I'd love to talk with you and see if that's something you'd like to do. You can go to my website. It's annieanderson.com. And right on the very front page there, you'll see the Foundations Incubator. You can go check that out. So Marissa is having trouble getting back in. She hasn't made it back in yet. So I guess we're just going to go ahead and end it. But if you have questions, hit me up on Facebook or on my website or, whatever. And I would love to talk to you.